about the Promise of Oregon kids, and hopefully having it reach a crescendo with the legislature so we can get more of the greatly needed resources to reverse that disinvestment in education. You can visit the Promise of Oregon website. So thank you so much for being here again. It's my pleasure to introduce Dr. R.Saxton, who will start the program. We're so grateful to the Department of Ed for putting these together. Dr. Saxton is the Deputy Superintendent of Public Instruction. He was appointed by the governor in 2012 to head the Department of Education. He's a former district superintendent. He's a former math teacher, comes from a family of educators, so please welcome Dr. Saxton.
Thank you. Wow, that's like loud. Thank you, and thank you all for being here this evening. It's great to have people come out and have a discussion about education and about standards and assessment. The video is fabulous. I've seen this several times, and every time I see it, I just really enjoy it. So thank you all for putting that together and showing off some of Oregon's kids. So I'm here tonight to talk a little bit about standards and a little bit about assessment, and then I'm going to hand it off to Derek, who is much more knowledgeable than I am about assessment. But I do want to talk about a few different things just to kick things off and try to give a little bit of a broad perspective about some of the issues that we're dealing with really in Oregon and also in our state in general, and really kind of across the nation. And one of the things that I find often, and actually it feels like a huge level of responsibility, is just how important education is becoming. When you think about what we live in now, we live in a time that we call the information age, which is kind of interesting to me that we even stop to name the age that we're living in. I don't think that people used to probably do that, right? Like in the Stone Age, they probably didn't sit around and say, hey, I think we should call this the Stone Age. But the point of the Stone Age was that if you could use stone really effectively, you had a leg up on the rest of the predators that were out there, and you could actually provide for your family. And that really is what the naming of an age is about in a lot of different ways. And so in the knowledge age, or in the information age, the ability to access, use, and think about information in more effective ways than other people can, it's the coin of the realm. It really is about how we get a leg up and how we're able to provide for our families in different ways than we've ever really been able to think about and do before. I think that's a really important thing for us to consider, just how important it is. And we know that in this day and age, the higher level of attainment that you get with education, typically, the more opportunity there is for success. And so the responsibility that we have around this is probably as deep and as steep as it ever has been. So one of the questions that I get put to me regularly, and that I would put to you this evening, is, what is it that we want kids to know? If that is in fact the case, that the amount of knowledge that we have and how well we're educated really makes a difference in how we're able to live our lives, and that is for us singularly, so for your child, the kind of education that they receive is going to make a huge difference. And that's for them singularly, but then also it is for us collectively as a state, as a society, right? So what is it that we need to have kids know? And what is it that we'd like to have them be able to do in order for them to have the best opportunity to be successful? It's a really good question. And if I said to you all, by the time a student is a senior in high school, because that's kind of what we're talking about here, what is it that you'd like them to be able to do? And what knowledge set would you like them to have in order to be predictive, to have it be highly likely that whatever it is that they choose to do next, and there are lots of different things that they could choose to do next. They could go right into the workforce, they could go into the military, they could go on to college or university, and lots of other things, I'm sure, that whatever it is that they choose to do next, that they'll be successful. And so that they have that knowledge and skill set to do that. And so there is sort of this body of information, right? And this body of what they can do that would say, I really am ready for my next steps. And what we would like to do is see all of our students get to that place. When I go out and talk to various groups and say, how are we doing on that? A lot of the times people say, I don't think you're doing that well. In fact, in Oregon right now, in our colleges and universities, when students go from, right now, from K-12 in Oregon, and they matriculate to a community college in the state of Oregon within 2 years of high school graduation, there is a 68% likelihood the students will take a developmental education course, right? This is a study that was done by Northwest Regional Education Lab 2 years ago. There's a 68% chance that they'll take a course because they'll have to take the course. So what happens is they show up on campus, the college says, here, we need you to take this assessment so that we can place you in the appropriate math class, or the appropriate English class, or the appropriate science class. Student takes the assessment, and they say, oh, well, based on the assessment results, you ought to be in this developmental ed course, which is a remedial, nice way to say remedial. 68% of our students end up in those courses. It's a non-credit bearing course. You get to take it and pay college tuition to be able to take it, but it doesn't count towards your degree. It simply is the first class that you take so that the next class that you take, hopefully, will be a class that would take you to your degree. And in fact, if you end up in a developmental ed course, there is a 27% likelihood that you will ever earn any kind of a college degree or other kind of work certificate. 27% chance. Those aren't very good odds. And so once in a while I get an opportunity to talk to people at community colleges and folks in higher ed and say, how are we doing? And they say, not so well. We really wish that you would do a better job preparing kids within K-12 so that when they show up at campus, they don't have to take developmental ed courses. They can take these assessments and do well. We'll put them into credit-bearing courses and they can move on their way to a college degree, because we don't like it when they burn through their grants and the money that they've saved up and that their parents have saved up in order to take a course that doesn't count toward their degree. Not that great. When I talk to people who are employers, a lot of times I get the same thing. Not always exactly for the same reasons, right? A lot of time it's about, do people show up on time? Are they friendly? Can they communicate well with others? Can they problem solve? Are they trustworthy? Those are the kinds of things that I want to know as an employer. And how are we doing with that? And a lot of times I have people tell me not so well. And so my question to them and to you is, what's the